guys, good evening, and it's us again. I'm Peter van der Spuy, and tonight I've got a co-host here with me, Luc Lucchesi, who's quite a renowned racing driver and also a sim racer. And he's also one of these days going to give the twig a go. You know, we don't have a stick; we got a twig. We put up a lap on the simulator, and then we've got Michael Stephen here. Welcome, Michael. It's really an honor for me to have you on the program and for me to dig a little bit into your background, and we can talk about racing and the psychology of racing, what it takes to be a race driver. You know, these are the type of things. I mean, your CV, I've gone through your CV, and it'll take me about 2 hours to read it. So, and I know you guys are under pressure here, but we'll get into the background of racing. And, you know, the reason why Luc is here is because there's some interesting questions that he wants to ask Michael as well. So, Michael, let's just start off with, if you can just introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about who is Michael Stephen.
Well, firstly, great to be on the show. I know we've spoken a lot about it to get you, and sorry I'm so late tonight, but we had a motorsport event, and you know how those go.
We had this fantastic motorsport event today.
Yeah, it was absolutely fantastic. But yeah, it's good to be here. Michael Stephen, basically born in Pretoria, grew up in PE, and motorsport's been my life, you know, from a young age. And it's a hobby, it's a passion, it's a job, it's a career. You know, but that's the one side of Michael Stephen. Obviously, in motorsport, the other side was engineering, studying, and the two sort of marry into each other. And then also, you know, the family man, married, 2 kids, and, you know, just love to live life as a whole and be around family and try to find a good balance between family, motorsport, time away, time at home, time with the kids. As you all know, it gets very busy with motorsport. So yeah, that's sort of my brief background.
Yeah, look, I mean, you're probably one of the most humble race drivers that I know, because normally race drivers you know, they like to talk about this stuff. And, you know, you've 18 national titles to your name. You're probably one of the most decorated race drivers in South Africa at the moment. And, you know, your engineering background, how you've applied that to racing, and, you know, that's where race engineering comes in. Luc is the same sort of type of guy. You're very, very technical as well. And I think what makes a really good race driver is somebody that actually knows how to take a spanner out and adjust cars and know every nut and bolt on a car. And I think you were also involved in building, or you were an engineer in Port Elizabeth in a big car factory that built cars. What was your role over there?
Yeah, so I think, you know, just touching back to marrying the two together in terms of racing and engineering.
Yes.
I think times have changed, and we were chatting to Luke earlier. My hands are dirty because we're at the racetrack today, and I think that's one thing, understanding the mechanics of cars, karts, and driving as well. You know, if you can sort of do that. As kids, when we were racing at 7 years old, we were working on our own karts. You know, times have changed. If you look at kids in the pits now, they've got mechanics and guys working on their karts. So we got a good understanding of that from an early age. Yeah, and more recently, you spoke about I worked at High Tech Automotive. I was a project manager on the Mustang GT 500, and there we built cars and sold them to America, and only recently, you know, I've changed jobs and obviously working for Scribanti now, but fantastic company in PE, and you know, it's a small part of South Africa, and you don't actually believe what incredible work they do over there.
I know. I visited the factory there one day, and I mean, what your role was in design, extremely technical. And, you know, I personally rate you, and I'm sure I'm not the only one around, that rate you probably one of the best race engineers in this country. And I think you could do very well on the world stage as well. And I mean, I've looked at your educational background, and all, you know, it's cum laude everywhere. Master's degree in is it mechanical engineering?
Mechanical, yeah.
Yeah, it's really phenomenal. and it's, I think the Scribanti team, I'm sure they appreciate your appointment a hell of a lot, because I mean, you're doing race training, you're doing a setup of their cars, you're supporting their race cars, and are you also racing for them?
So technically not really racing for them, but there are certain races that we will do together.
Yeah.
But from our side, joining the Scribanti team, when your hobby becomes your job and you look forward to go to work every day, and that's your passion, it's a win-win on all sides, from their side, from our side, and it's just a fantastic place to go to work to every day.
Yeah, that's absolutely, I mean, I followed exactly the same pattern. I went into chemical engineering. I was in R&D a lot, and I did my private pilot's license just for fun, and then I felt a little bit stupid about doing it, so I did night rating, and then I added an instrument rating, and then I just had a tack on one or two subjects, and then I got my commercial license. And then suddenly, my hobby, somebody offered me a job once to manage and fly an aeroplane. And I thought about it, and there's a major drop in salary, but it was my passion, my hobby, and I did it for 30 years. So if I had my life over again, I'd do it exactly the same. And I think an engineering degree is probably one of the best degrees you can have for racing, for aircraft flying, or any subject or occupation. Engineering, you need it everywhere.
Yeah, well, I think his engineering background is also one of the reasons why he's an exceptional driver, because he understands what the car's limit is and what he needs to change on the car to extract more out of it.
Yes.
Rather than somebody who's an arrive and drive and has to communicate with an engineer about what he wants, he can get in a car, drive it, and make his own changes because he knows what he needs to change to get the car to do what he wants it to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part of being fast and consistent, is knowing what the equipment is capable of so that you don't overdrive.
Yes.
Because that's one of the worst things you can do, because then your just tires go out of the tire window and you just can't maintain consistency.
Yeah.
So I think the engineering background that he has and the ability that he has to sort of envision what the car can do is the reason why he's a top driver. Yeah,
you get guys like me that don't have much racing experience. I think about 13 years. I only started 13 years ago. I can go around the track and the car will be sliding a little bit, and I'll come back in. What does it feel like? Well, it feels okay. I think I'm going like hell. But now one of you guys would go around and say it's oversteering a little bit. Not only that, you'll tell them what to adjust on the car to take that oversteering or understeering out, or the balance of the car, etc. Whereas a lot of the drivers and kids today, it's oversteering a bit. They don't really know what to do, but a good engineer will know what to do.
Yeah, I think you also mentioned that it's not only about the driving and what you can change on your own car, but when you're doing driver training and getting feedback from the other end, you sort of can put yourself in your position when you come in and say the car's understeering. I can relate to knowing what you're telling me. Yeah. And then we can chat about it, and then you can make the changes to go forward. Because often the case with understeer or with oversteer is understeer. The car will come in and say it's oversteering. But you watch the video and you chat, and the hands are turned 90 degrees for the whole engine to the corner. The last thing they remember is when it snaps and the oversteer on the way out. So to dive deeper into knowing what, and as a driver knowing that, as an engineer knowing that, you can also, as a team, also move forward.
Yeah, 100%. Because, you can read race data, whereas most drivers, including myself, can't. I can follow a graph and say, okay, you brake there, and the car did this and that. But I wouldn't really be able to interpret that. In fact, I don't have the time and the energy to go and study these charts forever and a day. But with your racing background and your engineering background, both of you, you can read data. And as you said, you can see that the steering wheel is being 90 degrees, and you know exactly what to do to correct it. And you can coach the driver, right? You say, this is what you need to do there. And that, that's what also makes you a brilliant driver, because, you've been a race coach for I don't know how long. I've always seen you teaching people, and When you're driving with teams, you're running the whole car, you're making all the tuning, the mechanical stuff yourself. And that's really what makes you such a phenomenal driver. But I'd like to dig into a couple of things. Tell me about your first race in a car, not in a go-kart. I know you started racing go-karts at the age of 8, and you won a bunch of go-kart titles, South African Championship titles. And I think you used to race against him as well.
I did.
In your day.
He did. I've got some good memories, and I'm sure some questions are going to come up just now.
Okay, so
he knows exactly what I'm going to ask.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah,
Is that so?
I think it's burned into both of our memories, even though it happened a long time ago.
Yes. Well, I mean, there was a South African title. Okay, let's dive into that for a second. So, the two of you were racing for the South African Championship in go-karts.
Yes,
go-karts,
that's
right?
correct.
And was it a championship-defining race event?
No, it was round 2.
Yeah.
But I'd had a good round 1, so I was in contention, to win the South African Championships. So I wouldn't say it was a pivotal moment, but obviously to win the South African Championships, you have to have some degree of consistency through each round, and you can't have a dud round, even though there were throwaways. You can't afford to throw away races where you do well. And obviously this particular race, I was doing very well, and
So was Michael.
He actually had some problems in the race where he had an engine cut out on him. I mean, he was there, he was obviously a front runner.
Just stop for a second. How long ago was this?
We were what?
1991, I think.
Yeah.
1991, somewhere around there.
So
It certainly is engraved in your memory. I mean, the detail that you can remember.
I can remember it clearly. The last lap, the heat before, my car cut out crossing the line with 1 lap to go while I was in the lead.
Oh, my word. Jeez.
Yeah, so we were all like, well, okay, well, now we can win a race. And I mean, he was sort of puttering around in the middle of the circuit.
Pottering.
Yeah,
or
because
racing.
his engine had cut out.
Oh, I
so
see.
he was
I
literally
see.
crawling along the circuit. He was sort of in the middle of the track, and when I got up to him, because I was actually leading the race at the time, and I had another guy. His name was Ricky Perdigo. He was behind me.
Yeah.
And I had a choice to make. So he was in the middle. I could either go right or left. And obviously, Ricky was going to go in whichever direction I wasn't going to go. So when I started going right, then Ricky turned left. And Michael, obviously being in the middle of the road, looked behind him, but he saw Ricky first. So as he saw Ricky moving to his left, then he turned right. And he basically got in my way, and I basically drove over him. And
So I was trying to do a good thing.
Yeah. You were trying to avoid
Yeah.
Ricky
trying to avoid Ricky.
on the left. And in so doing, you took his championship chances away.
Well, I wouldn't. It was more like sort of the heat, but it was.
And
sort
you
of,
improved your situation.
Yeah,
Not quite. My car cut out. So
yeah. But I think he's talking from my competitiveness.
yeah.
Sort of put us in the same boat, kind of thing. Look, it was just one of those things. I mean, there's no hard feelings about it at all. I mean, even when it happened, it's just, when you're in a kart, and you want to look behind you, you don't often look left and right behind you. You normally look left or right, and you sort of get the broader picture. But I think because we were so far apart, when he looked left, he couldn't see me because I was in his blind spot already. You know what I mean? And then obviously, instinctively, he just turned right to get out the way, not realizing that I was there. So it was all very innocent at the time, but, it's sort of burnt into our memory nonetheless.
I'll tell you something further on that you actually don't know what happened after that.
Okay.
So the first round happened in Cape Town, and it rained, and I was leading. And on the last lap, I looked out of the second 180 to see how far the next person was behind me, and I spun on the last lap leading. That was round 1 of the championship. And then, obviously, looking behind, I spun. And then round 2, looked behind, looked the wrong way for Luke, but obviously the right way for Ricky. And the next time we went to the track, I had 2 of those caravan mirrors with brackets that got put on my car.
I was about to ask you, don't you guys have mirrors? Yeah.
as a joke, but yeah. So I think that's probably one of the reasons why I remember it so well as well. You know, I was the only go-kart to have mirrors on at one stage.
And so go-karts don't have mirrors,
No.
and you can put mirrors on if you want.
No,
Oh, you're not allowed.
not allowed. Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, generally, you go on instinct. You go on looking at the shadow. You can hear when somebody's close behind you and that. But obviously, when you're in front and your kart cuts out,
Yeah.
and everyone's going at a certain speed, you need to get out the way. You obviously don't want to swerve into someone, so you have a look and get out the way.
Okay.
But sometimes when you do that, you get in the way of someone else.
Yeah, I think what's
Sorry,
actually
Luke.
I think what's quite interesting with karting is when you've got two-stroke high revving engines, the sort of RPM sort of get into sync, and you hear almost like a frequency
Resonance,
shift. Like especially at the end of the straight when you had a high RPM, and you can sort of gauge exactly where the guy is behind you, and whether he's on your right or whether he's on your left.
Do a little bit of a bat thing,
Yes,
on
exactly.
frequencies,
It's
right?
like you've got like a spidey sense going on with where the guy is, and that's obviously something that gets developed. And I mean, it follows through even to sim racing, where you can sort of gauge where your competitor is, even if you're only on a single screen. You can sort of gauge where they are, because I think that's the biggest thing in sim racing is that you get a lot of accidents because people aren't aware of where the competition is. And I think that's where real racing, especially karting, gives you an advantage, and it gives you that sixth sense of what's happening around you.
Yeah. But talking about sim racing, I mean, both of you, I think, Michael, you even built simulators, or you built the steering wheel?
I did, yes, yeah. So during lockdown, I mean, I remember going back to simulators probably 20 years ago. We had steering wheels,
really?
and the force feedback was a spring on this side and a spring on that side, and that was the force feedback. But yeah, when we went into lockdown, I mean, I hadn't played a lot of sim racing, but when we had lockdown, we obviously had a bit more spare time on our hands. So I got my G25 steering wheel out and got a computer going and started racing, and was nowhere. Was so far off the pace. I'm like, okay, we just keep practicing.
Compared to the other guys?
Compared to the other guys, yeah. And I remember we played a competition. It was in a Assetto Corsa, and I was a second off the pace. And I was like, no, this can't be. And I then started diving deeper into
the electronics and
why am I so slow? Mm-hmm. And then I started, you need this steering wheel, and you need this computer, and you need this graphics card. And I borrowed a computer during lockdown, and boom, I went a second a lap faster. But I was still off the pace.
Yeah.
And direct drive steering wheels had just come out, but they were expensive at the time. And so I thought, well, I've got time in lockdown, let me design my own steering wheel. So I landed up drawing my own steering wheel, and just after lockdown, developed my own direct drive steering wheel, my own load cell pedals, and I'm still using it today. So it's maybe not top of the range, but it's certainly better than the G25 that I had.
Yeah.
And it's innovated by yourself, which I think is, it's good, because I mean, there's not many people that can do that.
No.
Sort of envision a project from start to finish and actually complete it so that it actually works.
Yeah, and it's also my excuse. If I am slow, then at least I've got something to blame.
Not yourself.
But like Luke was saying, like on my accelerator pedal, I've got a 2-stage accelerator pedal, so it's almost like a built-in traction control. So I can come out of the corner at 80% throttle, and then when I want to go more, then I've got a double step, because I used an automatic accelerator pedal off a car. So it's got that kick down button. So I've got a few little tweaks, and then I can calibrate it in the software. So that's also part of...
that's what gives you the edge. I mean, I've raced against you many times on the simulator. You arrive, drive, and just knock us off out of the park. And your brother's the same. I mean, he arrives and drives, but your brother's very aggressive. He likes to overtake in next to the wall and over the grass and takes us out. And he said, well, you were in the way. Excuse me, you're coming from behind. Anyway, but that's what makes you a very good a simulator racer. So the question I want to ask is, coming from go-karts, or let me ask it maybe in a different way, what makes a good simulator racer?
I think on simulators, it's about sort of marrying reality with fiction, if I can call it that. You need to retrain your brain, because in a real car, you're driving off the seat of the pants feel, you know, the G-forces and feeling everything through your butt, essentially.
Yeah.
Whereas in sim racing, you can't do that. It's all about visuals and sound, and and that's why I think racing in a simulator helps real driving, because when you start driving for real, you are only driving off sight, sound, but you're sort of not really paying attention to the sound, what the noise the tires are making when you're going into a corner.
Yeah.
You're relying purely on the seat of the pants feel.
Yeah.
And the simulator it gives you the extra sense to listen to what the tires are doing when you get into a corner. Listen to what the brakes are sounding like, because that's what you need to do in a sim, to try and extract the maximum out of it. So now when you go from a sim back into a real car, you've trained your brain to look for these things and listen for these things. And that gives you the the ability to go that 10th or 2 faster, because now you can hear the tires screeching when you hit the brakes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Okay, so you go, okay, look, let me either brake a little bit earlier or just apply a little bit less brake pressure, and then carry more speed into the corner, maybe get off the brake sooner, and that's all lap time that you're giving up,
Because I mean, if you look at all these Formula One races, or all these race drivers that come up through the ranks, they've all done go-kart racing. So one can almost say, to become a really seriously good driver, you need to start with go-karts at a very young age. Now, the question I'm asking, to become a seriously good simulator racer, where do you need to start? Or what makes it? Well, you build your own stuff. You put your transistors in, do a 2-stage throttle, probably got a double clutch and a PDK gearbox and all sorts of stuff like that.
I think, yeah.
Which is what you do in real racing. So, I mean, both of you do that. I mean,
I think building your own stuff gives you the ability to change the hardware to suit you.
Yeah.
Which is an important part, because if you climb into somebody else's sim, now you have to get used to how stiff the pedal is. You have to get used to their seating position, everything. Whereas if you build your own stuff and you know how to change your own stuff to suit your driving style better, then your sim becomes your home. Then it actually becomes a lot easier to get in and arrive and drive, because you're comfortable from the get-go. But that's another thing, like where you've got guys like Max Verstappen who just sim races all the time. So when you race in different conditions in sim racing, you're always trying different things to see what works better.
Yeah.
So you might change your driving style slightly because there's less grip, or the track is dirty, or there's too much wind, or whatever.
Yeah.
And you actively are trying, okay, this lap, I'm going to try this on this corner. And then after the session, you'll go back to the data and you'll go, right, lap 3, turn 4.
Yeah.
Let's look at the trace from the previous lap. Okay, did I go faster? Did I go slower? Where did I lose? And those are the things that, because you sim race, you sort of pay attention to, the smaller little details. So when you go back and analyze the data, now you can actually translate that into real world gains. And that's why I think somebody like Max Verstappen utilizes that.
Yeah, he's, if I remember correctly, Max is the only, or the first Formula One driver that's also the world champion sim racer. Did you know that he was?
I didn't know that he was a world champion sim racer, but I know he's a damn fast sim racer, and I think with someone like Max Verstappen, it's not only sim racing. He's not scared to jump into a GT3 car. He's not scared to jump into a sim and go online with anyone. And that you got to take your hat off to him, because there are a lot of drivers, not only Formula One drivers, but drivers in South Africa that won't go up head to head with somebody because they might get beaten. But I think Max Verstappen knows he's so good that he can go up against anyone in any car. And it comes back to what Luke was saying earlier, is the diversity as well, in terms of if you do sim racing, if you drive a GT3, if you drive a Formula One car, it becomes easy to adapt. Within 1 or 2 laps, he'll be on the pace in any car that he drives. And you get a lot of people that the only thing that they do is drive a certain car and a certain track in sim racing. You put them in a different car, different track, it becomes difficult. And the same in karting. I've always, I don't agree with some of the teaching philosophies that people use, and putting out cones, turn here, turn there, because you're teaching somebody to follow one route.
Interesting.
But if you teach a concept and a driving style, you teach them that in one corner, and then they go to another track and it's got a similar corner. Then they go, oh, but you remember you taught that over there. I'm going to apply that over here. And that's where I think Max Verstappen jumping from simulator to different cars is so good. And he jumps in a GT3 car and then he lands up going to Formula One and winning 2 races. So it probably brings another element into F1 as well, which you don't get stuck in your way with what you've got there as well.
Yeah.
I think there's a trend there though. So when you see the guys coming from F2 and F3 and they do a practice session in an F1 car, you'll see that once they participate in that practice session, like a F1 car, which is now way faster than what they're driving, when they go back to the F2, it's like they've gained 2-3 tenths of time. And then like the next race that they do, now they're right at the front. And I think it's because now they're driving something that's way faster. So your reactions and everything have to be that little bit quicker than what you used to. So when you go back, now you've got that built in, and it takes a couple of races for your sort of reactions to now match what you used to. But for that brief moment, it gives you, the ability. I mean, speed is relative, right? So if you're driving a car daily that is fast, then eventually it's not going to seem fast to you. But if you drive something that is slow, you're going to climb into something that's just slightly faster, and it's going to feel like a rocket ship. So it's about that speed perception, and it's like the faster you go, the slower your brain makes it, so that you've got enough time to actually, make the decisions you need to make.
Yeah.
I
mean, so getting back to, well, by the way, for the listeners out there, you please got to watch to the end, because we're going to put Michael on the simulator and to do a hot lap. And everybody that comes in this program needs to go and do a hot lap, no matter if he's a game ranger or he's only used to 4x4s, which we've had on here. We've had an assault helicopter pilot, Mikey Kay, who's given it a good go, and he did a pretty good job as well. And, we've got a sort of a reference time there. We don't have a stick, but we call them the twig. And we found him strolling around in some shopping center one day, and he claimed he knew how to drive. We don't know who he is. We won't take his helmet off. We tried our best to get him, but he put up a lap there that nobody's been able to beat yet, except Byron Mitchell. Byron Mitchell, who's also a South African champion, a sim racer. And he happened to know the track and the car very well, but also apparently the temperature of the track dropped on that day. And it was due to a setup that we had there. We made a small mistake. So it's maybe not 100% accurate. We can always get him back here one day. But, yeah, watch the hot lap. It's coming at the end of the program. We see how Michael can do, because he's a damn hot shot simulator driver as well. So, okay, getting back to your first car race.
Yeah, so getting back to that, obviously went through karting through the ranks and wanted to make the next step.
Yeah.
And landed up at a kart track once, and somebody new arrived at the kart track. His kart wouldn't start, so I went to him. I said, "Yeah, let me just give you a hand." Cleaned his carburetor, got the kart up and running, and he was so grateful. He says, "Well, I've got a car at Scribanti. Whenever I'm at Scribanti, come along and have some laps." And he had an Opel Kadett, Brad Carver, phoned me and said, "We're going to the track on Sunday, please come along." And I went out and got in the car, and first time out set some decent lap times. He says, "Well, I think you should race the car." So there was a race meeting, I think in 2 or 3 weeks' time, and landed up racing his car and won my class, qualified on pole in class. And on that day, Terry Moss was there, and they had an all-comers race at the end of the day, and he saw me race the cadet, and he says, "Well, there's an all-comers race, please, do you want to jump in the Polo and race that at the end of the day?" So I jumped in the Polo and set quick lap times in the Polo first time out, and that's sort of what was the first stepping stone to tin tops and getting into main circuit. Unfortunately, there were no drives available at the time, but just that specific day just allowed me to showcase, what I could do in a car. And I mean, and I was a rookie, so there was
your
still
first time in racing a car from the go-karts. You had the talent. Nobody, you didn't have money to buy yourself into any race series or anything, and you were given an opportunity, and you blew them all away on the day.
Yeah. So unfortunately, in motorsport, sometimes it's about money.
Yeah.
Sometimes
all about money.
sometimes it's about luck, and sometimes it's just about being at the right place at the right time, and getting the right breaks. And you'll look back at your career, and there will be times where that happened and it was fantastic, and there'll be other times where you wish you maybe had have done this or this had happened. But I look back at my career and I've got absolutely no regrets. I think what you mentioned earlier, if I happened to do it again, I'd do it all the same.
Do it all over again, yeah.
Well, you're not at the end of it yet.
Absolutely.
Yeah, talking about that, I mean, let's talk about age now. The older we get, apparently the slower we get. Is that a fact, or do you think that's just hogwash?
Hogwash.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think it's the other way around. I think you get faster to a certain point, and yes, you get older and you'll start losing maybe reaction time. But there's certain things that you can do to keep that fit and keep that train, and you've got light training and that. But you just look at Formula One now. You look at Fernando Alonso.
Yeah.
I think in the last couple of seasons, no one's come close to him, and I think he's 44 years old or somewhere around there, and probably still one of the fastest drivers on track. Put him in the right car, and he'll be challenging a Max Verstappen. But I think the big difference when you get older, you get wiser. It's not always about going out and doing the fastest lap every lap.
Yeah.
It's about sandbagging and not showing your pace when you don't need to, and sort of when you need to put in that quick lap, you put the quick lap in.
Yeah.
Consistency, all the knowledge of how to set up the car. So maybe you lose a 10th, but you've gained all that knowledge over the years to set it up 3 tenths faster. So you're still going to be 2 tenths quicker than the youngster that's come along. Yeah. So.
And he even looks at the screens around the track to see what the other guys are
Fernando.
doing. It's pit strategy.
Oh, really, eh?
Yeah,
oh,
exactly.
really?
So he knows what's going on, and that's why he's always communicating with his team, going, look, looks like this guy's going to pit early, looks like he wants to undercut us. What do we do? Adjust the strategy, those kind of things. And I think that's what you develop with age.
Yeah.
When you're younger, you've got more reliance on your team to make the calls. And as you get older and wiser, you recognize that they also can make mistakes.
Yeah.
And then you make these suggestions, hey, why don't we do this? Why don't we try and undercut? And you sort of plan more for the future. But also, as you get older, I think I wouldn't say that you're more fearful, but I think when you're younger, you don't think of the consequences of if you're going to crash or if you're going too
100%.
fast or anything like that. Whereas as you get older, you sort of recognize your own mortality, and then you do recognize, okay, listen, I can't go in here so fast. So what you might lack in pace, you might gain in consistency, but also, strategy, because it's not just about going out there and doing the fastest lap. You can't do a quali lap for 20 laps.
Yeah.
So it's about maybe dialing it back a bit and giving the car the consistency to be able to do 20 laps at a certain pace, to end up getting a good result.
I mean, I know when I'm hauling ass down a back straight or somewhere like that, I'm thinking all the time, what if my brake fail? And of course that makes me slow and makes me brake way in advance. And, I think my frontal lobe is so big now that, as I'm getting on it. But I mean, we all run about 45 years old, yeah, right?
Correct.
I'm a little bit... I'm super senior, they call me nowadays. I see on the commentating. But, but on the simulator, there are times when I'm as quick as the guys. I always say if I'm a half a second or 1.5 seconds is the biggest gap that I've got from the real front runner. I mean, Johan Fourie, for example. He's always a second or half a second at least faster than P2. When he doesn't race, then it's Gerald Fourie, and there's a couple of big guns racing with us now. But I'm always in the front bunch. Actually, I'm leading the championship at the moment, overall, because I happen to get easy first, second, and third place, right? Because there's so few super seniors placing or grandmasters racing, so I accumulate more points, but I don't get any credit for it, though. But anyway, we on it. I want to say, okay, so Have you had any major setbacks in your life that maybe slowed your progression down or maybe gave you a fright?
Yeah, I think just there was a stage in karting where I just got a sponsored drive. I think it was probably just gone to high school, and there were reasons where I couldn't race for a year and a half, and so just got a sponsored drive in karting, 100 stocks, and the doctor said, sorry, you can't. We're not giving you a medical license. Back then, to get a license was a lot more difficult. You had to go for a full checkup every year, and they termed it too much electricity on the brain, and and that was, when you've just gone through GP juniors, you've done a season in stocks, and this is the year you're going to go to the championship, and now you get told you can't race. So that was probably one of the biggest setbacks. And then after a year and a half, the doctor comes back and says, yeah, actually, I don't think it was that, but I couldn't take a chance. And but I've always looked at things happen for a reason.
Absolutely.
We don't know now at the time why or what, but it's how you bounce back. And I think in that year they tested it. I wasn't allowed to race, but I could practice. And the first national was in PE, and I was practicing, and I was the fastest. And so that was probably quite difficult to sort of take, where your karting had taken, and Luke knows, to get a sponsor in karting was really difficult. And
so were they scared that you'd have an accident?
No, it was just the doctors were...
I think they cover themselves,
Absolutely.
They don't want to let somebody race that they think has got a problem, and then, it comes back to them.
But I like the term too much electricity in the brain, because, that's what makes you such a smart guy. Whatever you touch and whatever you study, you always... the awards that you've got is just incredible. So you probably did have electricity overload in your
probably
brain.
Still got it on the brain.
Those synapses are firing.
You still got it.
Especially when you look at your competitor, you send some of that electricity out into their eyes.
No, I think I think both of you have actually got a little bit of that.
I think you always try and psych out your competition. Same they do in F1, with the tires, where they start complaining about their tires, and then the next lap they set the fastest lap of the race. It's all to try and get the other team to brake first and pull the car into the pits. And I think that always stemmed from karting. Although when we were karting when we were younger, the environment was completely different, and there was much less stress and politics, and after the events we used to sit and have a braai, and it was a very nice event. Whereas these days it's much more professional, and you can't talk to this guy because he's on a different team. And
but just getting back to the age thing, this boy, Flat Out Racing and Fearless, Peter Lindenberg. He wrote this monster book. It's a big book, but the guy. He's still on it. He's still teaching. He's teaching his daughter now. He stepped back from racing. But it's another good book to read, guys. About this guy. You need to write a book too.
Does it come out in a movie?
Yeah, I like to watch movies as well.
Or an audiobook.
Actually, would make a good movie. But I'm the same. I'd rather watch a movie and get it condensed.
I think he could write a book because, like I said, he can marry engineering with driving. And, you can sort of get in depth and explain, where it helps having the engineering knowledge and background in your driving.
Are you in this book? I think you are.
I am, yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there.
What a great book, yeah. Can you imagine? I also feature in this book. There's the pictures when I had that monster Porsche Carrera RSR Turbo, the 1974 classic thing. And so I managed to get in the book. But Dennis Klopp is doing a book now on Sadel, van der Merwe, and on Ian Schechter. Are you also on that list?
Not yet.
Where he does the book, yeah. Because I'm sure he would probably do a book on that as well. But this is a fantastic book, by the way. We did a feature on Dennis Klopper recently, and the information that's in this is 60 years of racing Porsche at Kyalami. It's a phenomenal book. But we should write books, guys. But this is why we do podcasts, so we can tell our stories in an easy way. We can just rattle along.
Yeah, I don't think a podcast is long enough for his story.
I know it's too long.
We'll need
It's
a
too
book
long.
and a multi-picture deal.
So as Luke said earlier, the racing's not over yet. We'll write the book when we finish racing.
Okay, yeah. Okay, well, I'll probably be dead by the time I write the book. But anyway,
You should probably start now, so that you don't forget it.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of chapters and ideas and got some stuff saved. So
Yeah, hopefully I can be in chapter 1 or 2, right in the beginning.
1989 GP Juniors.
1991, left turn, right, look left, and caravan rear view mirrors. I mean, I like that one. But I think, in essence, I mean, if one can condense it in, like today you had a big racing event, so you're the race manager of Scribanti. Is that a kind of a title, or a race engineer, or a race manager? You train, you turn spanners, or you have the engineers there and you just tell them what to do.
Yeah, I think, so I run the motorsport operation now. Obviously, I've only been there for, I think, 5 months. And it's something that it will improve over time, so with any motorsport event or any job that you take, you can't come in and make changes. You almost need to come in, observe, see people's strong points, see their weak points, and then focus on the strong points and use that to make changes going forward and improve the situation. And that's my role, to take the team forward, to make sure the cars are prepped well for every race.
How many cars do they have?
Well,
who is Scribanti Racing? What are they?
So Aldo and Silvio Scribanti are in Port Elizabeth, and I work for them. And then obviously there's Franco Scribanti Racing up in Joburg. They cousins.
Okay.
And but also one big family. So the rivalry is on track.
In charge of Franco's
No,
setup?
no, not at all.
Oh, yes,
so
he's
they're based up in Joburg with their own team, and then
Okay.
Aldo and Silvio are down in PE.
Okay.
So
they've got a race team now, amongst other things. That's obviously they've got businesses, and then they're a racing family. I mean, I think the track is called Scribanti as well.
Aldo Scribanti,
Yeah. His dad was
Celso Scribanti, and then his father was Aldo Scribanti, and the track was named after. So there's a lot of heritage in the Scribanti family and the name, and they're just passionate about motorsport as well. I think like we all are. So to be part of that is fantastic, and hopefully I can take them further forward in terms of not only in terms of driving, but in terms of developing cars, and they're really into the hill climbs at the moment and enjoying that. So, which is also fantastic, because in circuit racing there's often rules and limitations to what you can do. Where when you've got a hill climb monster that you can do, it sort of comes back to budget what you can do, and but again, Rome wasn't built in a day, so we're taking step by step. And unfortunately, we had a bit of a brilliant day with Aldo today. He finished 4th in the top 10 shootout.
So today there was the Cape Classic hill climb event, the first one in Cape Town, and it looked like it was a tremendous success. I mean, the entries were full, oversubscribed. There was thousands of people there today. I was absolutely stunned. The VIP tent was great, and the lineup of cars was phenomenal. It's basically the whole same crowd that is normally at the Samola Hill Climb. I think it looked like pretty much the same gang. So how did you guys do then? You had some technical problems.
Yeah, so obviously we entered the historic event yesterday as well.
Oh, in what?
In a Ford Escort, Mark 1 2-litre Pinto motor. Aldo drove that, and then Silvio drove a Ford Piranha Capri.
Okay, yes,
and
I remember.
So they both finished on the podium. So that was a good way
Was it 2 different classes?
2 different classes, okay. Yes. And but it was also a nice day just to get to know the track, and we didn't want to come into today blind, and that was pretty much a good thing, because Aldo had a good run today. He had a small incident in the final practice where we damaged some suspension and got to miss the first qualifying run. But, set good lap times and finished 4th overall at the end of the day in the top 10 shootout.
Oh, really? 4th overall?
4th overall, yes. Yeah,
in which car?
In the modified, in the Audi S4. So,
wow.
and
Jeez,
that's actually my old production car from back in the day. So it's been his project that he's developed over the years, and I've been part of. So although I've only started there now, we've been working together for a long time. And then, unfortunately, Silvio had a bit of an unlucky day. So we've been working on the car, and we've got a new engine in the car, and we've rebuilt the engine. But as you up the power of the engine,
drivetrain.
Everything around breaks. Yeah.
everything around it breaks.
Yeah.
So we had a CV brake on the first run, and that put us on the back foot because the CV brakes that holds the wheel bearing together. So there was some damage. We got it running for the second qualifying heat, and that was basically Silvio's first run up the hill. So it was just a bit of a sighting lap.
Yeah.
And then the third qualifying, it was let's go. And he did a brilliant first sector, probably a 10th or 2/10 off the quickest. Second sector was pretty good. And as he went over the bump, the oil pump belt came off.
Oh.
So we've run the car quite a bit now. We've never
Did he
had that
actually
issue.
finish the lap?
He finished the lap. He basically pushed the clutch in and freewheeled over the line. Still did a 40.8, I think it was. But he was on target for a high 37, low 38, basically on his first run, which was right at the sharp end of the field. So, but again, we had the bad luck today. It's how we bounce back, and the next event is top of the hill in Spuy in 4 weeks' time, and we'll come back stronger.
Is that another event, top of the hill? It's at Spuy. So
at Spuy in reverse.
In reverse.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a mini hill climb from an elevation point of view.
Yeah, I think it's more just, the nature of the event, standing start, 1.8K run, and see what you got. It adds a bit of a different element to just going around and trying to improve your lap time.
How big is that event?
I wasn't at it last year, but I think it was pretty well supported.
Yeah.
Obviously, being up in Joburg, I think they get a lot of Joburg competitors. But
it's easy to do it there. You don't have all this catch fencing to put up and all these. I mean, the infrastructure that these guys put up in a few days is just phenomenal, isn't it? I mean, it's a monster production, but I guess this is a city hill climb, Cape Town, mother city, beautiful backdrop, Table Mountain.
It was stunning.
What an event.
Yeah, but a lot of transformation that needs to take place that you don't have on a circuit.
Yeah, 100%. So they've got the hill climb cars, and then what other cars is Cromartie team?
They've got a couple of classic cars. So for the Knysna Hill Climb next year, we'll be entering 2 classic cars as well. Still need to decide which ones we're going to enter. But just to be part of it, to be involved, to the classics also bring back memories from a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
and they've got the 2 GT3 cars. They raced in GT3 a couple of years ago, but at the moment, in terms of circuit racing and GT3, there isn't really a formula where you can run the cars in GT3 spec. So we've been using the cars for corporate days and client days, and clients come along and we take them around for hot laps. So, that's been quite exciting as well. Putting somebody in a passenger seat and taking around for laps, it's a very different experience that most people don't ever get the opportunity to experience.
And do you do those?
Yeah, so we'll all do it. So Aldo will drive, Sylvia will drive, and then I'll drive as well.
Is that those Lamborghinis?
The Lamborghini GT3.
Is it one, or do they have more than one?
2 cars. So Aldo raced a car and Sylvia raced a car. So we have those cars that we prep as well.
So they're still doing GT3 racing with them, or is it just not really?
So this year the decision was made to sort of take a step back in the GT3 race. If there's a race in PE, we would do it. But that's not counting out next year. Looking at some endurance racing or some sprint racing.
Yeah.
We'll have a meeting now at the end of the year and decide what we're going to do going forward. But certainly the cars aren't going to stand around and collect dust. We're going to use them.
Yeah. Okay. So, look, I think you need to go, right? You've got an emergency set up there, but I think we've got out of you everything that I wanted to get out of you. So I'll let you go. And
thanks for having me. Thanks for inviting me. Hopefully I can
thanks for joining in.
Join you on a future episode.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really nice to have the two of you here at once because I think you're both phenomenal race engineers and drivers. And you both know simulators. And so it was good to have a little banter with the two of you. And thanks very much for coming.
Yeah, we've chatted a lot. I mean, not just about racing, but about sims and steering wheels and pedals. And
Yeah.
Life.
we've had all the
Life.
discussions. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, very
Trials
nice
and
seeing you again. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't see you as often as I would like. But yeah, I wish you all the best for the future. And I know that you're going to take Scribante Motorsport to the next level. I've got no doubt about that.
No, thanks. And yeah, also great to see you. Often we run into each other at the track and that, and we spoke about opportunity. And I think Luke's one of those guys that if he had have had the opportunity to go to the next stage years ago, he would have also made a massive career in motorsport.
Thank you. Appreciate
And unfortunately, it's an expensive sport, and not being in the right place, right time, having the right sponsors. And I know there was opportunity, but it didn't quite work out. But he's one of the top sim racers in South Africa at the moment. And I'm sure if you put him in a car in main circuit, he'd be one of the top runners as well.
I think so as well. Yeah.
And just one thing on that incident that happened just a couple of years ago.
Yes.
I've actually got that on a VHS tape.
I think we should digitize it.
Okay.
I'm going to go get that, and I'm going to digitize it. And
Yeah, and can we please have it so we can put it on this? So when we talk about it, you can.
I'll
show
first
it.
have to watch it.
See how bad
See,
it
you
is.
was right.
But yeah,
The evidence went missing.
Yeah. Okay, I'll
yeah,
excuse you.
great for having me, guys.
I know you've got a bit of an emergency going there.
all right.
So we'll see you shortly. Thanks, Luc. Thanks very much. Yeah, I just wanted to get, another 1 or 2 points in. So you've got the Scribante team. You running the whole team, the company basically, Scribante Racing. You're developing their cars, making them faster, making the drivers faster. I mean, you're probably coaching the drivers as well. And, for the listeners out there, I mean, it's, getting into racing is quite something. It's expensive. I had to wait almost all my life before I could afford to race. And I didn't go and race because I wanted to go and race. Somebody just dragged me by the scruff of my neck once, Andre Besaiden had to be exact, and said, you need to be on a racetrack. And how do you get on a racetrack? It's like saying you need to be a pilot. Where do I start? Anyway, and that's basically how I got into it. And it's, as I said, I've had a very limited experience, but I think I've had a lot of experience when it comes to race cars, what they cost. It's a hobby that bites you. You have no idea what you're getting into. I mean, if I think back now, holy shit! If I'd known what I was going to spend on cars, I wouldn't have started probably. But I had this car, which we developed first, which I actually bought from Andre, and then developed it over 8 years, raced it and so on. My goal was to beat the current Cup cars with it, and I'd achieved that the season just before lockdown. On the local circuit at Killarney, I beat all the guys. There's still a nice little article here in one of these magazines about that. But I think the only way I could do it was with brute power and those massive tackies behind there. And nobody else would want to drive the car. They also do nuts to drive that thing. But anyway, and then I got this Juno, which I raced in the 2023 South African Endurance Series, and we came third in Class A. That's third in the championship. So we podium. It was a lifelong dream for me, lifelong, meaning my whole race career, to do a endurance series completely. I was never able to do it because I was always flying out of country. I could do 1 year and there. So, but now, I'm going to probably race this car again in the next race. But technically, I want to retire from racing because of the expense. So this car will be up for sale. Well, it's up for sale right now, actually. I'm getting a free advert here now. But but I'd love you to set this car up for me. I mean, don't you want to come down Are you here in the next few weeks?
I'm not here in the next few weeks. The next few weeks are busy, but we can certainly talk about it and see what we can do. But we've got a busy schedule now to the end of the year. As I said, also balancing racing and family life.
Yes.
Obviously, I've had the opportunity to go do some racing overseas this year. So
Yes, yeah. Tell me about that. So you got this tremendous break and to go and race prototypes, namely Nova. What do you call it?
it's a Nova Proto 02.
Nova Proto 02,
Yeah.
which seems to be a nice endurance car. I think. What do you think?
It's a fantastic car. I think relatively speaking, it's a cheaper car than racing probably LMP3 and those sort of vehicles. It's fast, it's reliable, it's high downforce, and they just keep running. So obviously, someone in Europe had the idea to build a car that everyone can race and do these endurance races and not spend a fortune. Obviously, relatively speaking, but I think the nice thing about the series is there's 24, 25 cars on the grid that are all the same. A lot of formulas you go to, you have different manufacturers, and even in GT3, you've got balance of performance because this car's turbo, this car's got a bigger engine, and it weighs more, and so on. So when you race it, you're really up against like for like, and that's something that I've also really enjoyed.
So. Can you race that car in a Le Mans series or not really?
No, not really.
What does it qualify? LMP3, LMP4?
So it's very similar to an LMP3. It's probably slightly less power than an LMP3, but slightly more downforce. So I think generally in lap time, it's probably the same, if not a little bit faster.
Yeah.
But a fantastic car to drive in terms of a driver and experience. It's got so much downforce. It's just every time you get in the car,
you can't believe it.
You can't believe it, and you're exploring new limits. Braking later, and now towards the end of the season, now that I've raced it 4 times, when you get in it now, it's becoming a little bit more second nature. Where my whole career has sort of been tin tops and GT3. More recently, the prototypes is a little bit of a different driving style. But the same raw inputs and exhilaration.
So, how many more races to go for this series?
So we've got one. We've got one more round.
One more round.
Yeah, still working on sponsors for the final round. So.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
so how much do you need for that?
Yeah.
For the final race? What does it cost you, by the way? Are you doing it per race? The cost per race, is it fixed?
Yeah, it's sort of doing it cost per race, but I do have some sponsorship for the final round, so it varies. It depends on the track and that, but I'm still short. Yeah. I'd like to say 10,000 euro. Okay. It sounds a lot better than 200,000 rand. So if you went to an international company and said, I'm looking for 10,000 euro to do a round, it sounds a lot better than looking for 200,000 rand. But, so my philosophy for the last round is trying to get maybe 10 or 20 people to sponsor 10 or 20 grand, to finish the season. But I must just say a big thank you to Nick Adcock, Aldo Scribanti, Silvio Scribanti, all the Scribanti concrete and the businesses, Paul Hill and Calix, they basically covered the costs up to now for the first 4 rounds. And
that's fantastic.
I'm determined to finish the season. Paul Ricard is the next round, and it's a first repeat round. So,
oh, wow. So you've been there before.
So every track that I've gone to has been new. And, we've done really well, but, that's that last little thing, going back to a track where I now know the car, I know the track, that pole position is sort of there waiting to be taken. And we finished second at Portimao. So,
oh, really? Wow.
So, there's a pole position on the cards, and the one win for the season is also on the cards. So, pushing hard to try and get it done. And in the
championships, how are you guys featuring there?
So unfortunately, at Aragon, we had a DNF. So up until Aragon, we were lying 4th in the championship.
There's no dropping a race in this series.
There's no dropping a race. Okay. So unfortunately, we had a DNF in the first round. We then went to Mugello, and we had a really strong round. We were lying 2nd, 3rd, and we had fuel pressure issues towards the end of the race and fell back to fourth. So we still had a really strong race. We then went to Portimao and finished second overall. And the guys who won the race benefit from a virtual safety car, so the pace was really strong.
Yeah.
And that was a 6-hour race, and we scored double points, so it really put us back in the championship. And then Aragon, we were unfortunate. We had some contact in the beginning of the race, and an oil pipe chafed through later on in the race. We were on target for a top 5.
Yeah, actually, I watched every race. I'm on your group, as you know, and I watched every race, and it was this close.
So, but again, in motorsport, those things happen. So sometimes it goes your way, sometimes it doesn't. And in the previous round, we raced at Magny-Cours, and what a fantastic circuit. I raced it on the sim, and I was like, it's a little bit maybe Mickey Mouse and that, but in real life, to go to a proper Grand Prix circuit, and when you get on track, it certainly wasn't Mickey Mouse. The high-speed chicanes were full commitment, no brakes, entering at 200 km an hour. And again, we were just unlucky with the safety car. The safety car picked us up, and we lost a lap. The engineer in me went back and did the calculations. If we didn't lose that behind the safety car, we would have finished fourth. Based on pace between Nick and myself. So just a little bit of misfortune. But the philosophy is the wheel always turns. Sometimes you're at the bottom, sometimes you're at the top, and make the most of it when you're at the top.
So I know Nick's been trying to give up racing for a while, and the bug just keeps biting him, and his wife keeps thinking this is it, and every time he says this is it, his wife rolls her eyes, and, and then he's back, and he would really like to. I don't know if this is going to be his last season. What do you think?
I don't think so. And I know you were speaking about selling the Juno, and that would be your last car. I don't think that's going to happen either. I think you'll sell the car, but I don't think that's going to be your last car.
I want to arrive and drive now for a change, and I'd actually like to give that prototype, that Nova, a go. I've been talking to Jonathan a lot, and just to tick the box really, and take it around, take a high downforce car around the track.
You will be blown away by the amount of downforce that it has, and probably the stopping power doesn't have ABS. A GT3 car's got ABS, but you can generally never lock the brakes because of the downforce, and that's one of the things in the beginning, to sort of get my head around, was the stopping power.
Wow. So that's my Juno. When I raced with Byron Mitchell was my partner on that thing, and I just knew nothing about setting up a car, and so it was just so great to have him and his family rebuild this car from scratch. I mean, they literally just tore apart. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry that had a go at the car before that, just each person just added a problem to it, and they just started from scratch, and they rebuilt the car, and then suddenly it was on pace. I mean, he's circulated at a sub 10 at Killarney with us. I've like 12 once many years ago, but Byron goes 10, 10.1, 10.2 lap after lap. So it's a really quick little car, brand new engine, all that sort of stuff. And I last raced at Killarney in this car probably 4 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago. All the races in 2023 were away races. And before that, I was just trying to, we rebuilt the car. So 2 years of rebuilding the car while I was racing the Porsche, and then sold the Porsche, and then finally put this thing on the track. And then, but I had to rebuild it because it wouldn't last 5 laps for the 2 years leading up to that. Something would break, and it's the usual stuff. And you get big invoices. And you say, well, I cannot finish a race, Anyway, so I think, in essence, it's just been amazing to just pick your brain a little bit here, there, and there. And because, we can talk all night, but I think, important for me is you're probably one of the most unrecognized potentials in this country, and I've always thought that, I pitched you before, and then they looked at Biden, I looked at you, and the first thing they said, he's too old, referring to you. I said, mate, you don't know what you're talking about. Look at the credentials, and but this and that and that. And I've just learned now that age is not a big thing. I interviewed John Lammers today at the track. He was actually going to be here tonight as well, but I think he just got too complicated and he had to go overseas. So I managed to do a 45-minute interview there with him. And, we spoke about age too. He's 69 now, which is quite phenomenal, and he's still on it. But he, by self-admission, says, my competitive racing days are over. I'm now pushing my son. His 16-year-old son is doing very well in the GD4, I think, F3, I think he said, F3 or F4.
I have seen the name pop up, Lammers, and I was always wondering,
yes,
is there a relation?
Yeah. So it's just very interesting to try, and there's a lot of stories we can still dig into, but we're obviously running out of time. But it's just nice to have you on the show. I would love the people to have a chat. I've had Nick Adcock here, which was a wonderful interview, and a couple of the guys that you're involved with, really. And everybody now knows that you're one of you're a complete race driver. You're technically very sound, and your racing standard is phenomenal. And it's just good for the public to see out there what it takes to become a really good driver. And I think the technical engineering combined with your sport, we'll quickly see how you do. On the hot lap, we don't tell anybody. I never really announce it on the program either, what car and what track they're going to practice. But
well, I haven't been on a sim other than the tracks that I've been racing overseas, for practice. But
it's not a competition.
I have to mention another point. I know you mentioned the driving and the engineering and that, but there's a lot more to it as well, in terms of the dedication and commitment.
Absolutely.
And it's not only in motorsport, it's in business, it's in any sport that you do. And it's one of the things that, what you put in is what you get out. If you go to racetracks and you see the guys who are there first in the morning, you see the guys who who leave last. And, we're racing overseas now with Nick, and the
standard there is like different.
But to give you an example, at Magny-Cours, we get the data, we went to SAPA, and we're at the table and we pull out the laptop and we watch the video and we look at the data at 9 o'clock while we're waiting for SAPA at the table. And Nick's also just as dedicated.
He's phenomenal.
He loves his racing, but very competitive and always wants to do well. And I think that's a similar character to what I have. We leave the track
Always
at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
It's thinking in the car. We had a failure today. I've got the failure in the car because when I get back to work tomorrow, I'm on that to make sure that it doesn't happen again. So for anyone out there that's in any sport, just the little bit extra that you put in goes a long way.
That's really good advice. Guys, youngsters, older guys, all the race drivers out there, in fact, in any sport and business, as you said, dedication is a critical thing, and discipline, of course. And so don't be late, arrive on time. Don't be like me. I'm always late. But it's... Okay, we're going to go and do a hot lap now. And it's not a race. The guys, as I said, there's helicopter pilots, there's been game rangers here that have driven here. Guys that have never driven on a simulator in their lives before. And so you're going to get 30 litres of fuel in a GDE car, which will give you about 8 laps at practice. And then we give you 5 laps to do a hot lap. Take the fastest lap out of the second. So you got time to practice a little bit. You may feel that you only need 3 laps and then gun it and say, okay, there's my lap.
Take all the laps you can get.
It's all fine, yeah. All right, then we'll come back and then discuss with like a little debrief on the wrap. Okay?
Awesome. Thank
See you in a bit.
I've been very fortunate this year to race at Mugello, Magny-Cours, all famous Formula One tracks.
Alrighty, so we are back, and Michael Stephen has just done his hot lap, and now, how do you judge a really good driver from an average driver? And what I observed now was a lot of footwork, a lot of steering inputs, and I think that's one of my shortfalls. But can you tell me, Michael, how do you think you did with that?
I spun a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so obviously, you go out there on the sim now and you've got 5 laps to get to know the track.
Yeah.
So it's sort of maybe a little bit of a different approach to when you got an hour session. So in the beginning, I just try to find my brake markers. Turn 1, I was always a little bit early. Turn 2, I was always a little bit late. But by exploring and going past the limit, it's easier to come back a little bit than it is to every lap go 5 meters more. And that's something in sim racing that you can do quite easily. In real life, it's a little bit more challenging, because if you go past the limit, it's going to cost you money, and there's no control, escape, and go back to the pits and restart. So the technique in the first couple of laps was just to try to find the break points, and also get used to the sim. It's a fantastic setup, triple screens. It's not my home-built steering wheel, so it's got a little bit more feel. And it's also fantastic to drive something different, so that how technology has progressed in the last 3-4 years. It's incredible, I think, since COVID, how direct drive wheels and pedals and that have come.
Yeah.
One thing I can say, I prefer my pedals. So I'll take a plus out of that. But not saying that the pedals are fantastic, but like Luke was saying earlier, you sort of customize your rig for yourself.
Yeah.
So there's a few little changes that I would make, and I'll chat to you about them, because I think that actually probably help you as well.
Yes.
Just please don't pass it on to anyone else who comes and tries to do a lap time.
No, I definitely won't.
I'm joking. But no, fantastic. And then I just did 5 laps to get to know obviously know the track from the sim.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've driven the BM with the GTE. I think it's normally, I don't know what car. I don't know when last I've driven a GTE on iRacing. Probably last year.
Yeah.
But fantastic car. And then obviously had the 5 laps. There was some concentration going on there. When I ended, I could hear my heavy breathing. And that's something. One thing I must say, no one heard the squeaky pedals. With my sim, all I get is the guys on Discord saying, "What's that squeaking noise in the background?"
Yeah.
But
that squeaks, yeah.
So try to put a banker lap in, and then obviously put a push lap in. And I think that's probably similar to real life as well. When you go out there, get your banker lap in, then do a push lap, and if that push lap's good, then then you can give it all.
Yeah.
I did that and landed up losing a bit of time, and then the last lap I was up another 10th, I think, going into turn 2, and sometimes you're a little bit optimistic, and that's something else. In terms of racing, you've got that predictive lap time, and sometimes that can actually play with you in terms of you're up a 10th, and your mind goes into, I've got to go fast in the next corner, and it's something that I used to use when I raced. I actually changed that lap time not to plus minus. I changed it to predictive lap time. So if you went through the first chicane and you were on for a 44.8, if you did everything else on the same as at the previous lap, you'll end the lap as a 44.8. It just changes your mindset of how you approach the rest of the lap. Now you see a 10th up. If you go fast in the next corner, and I think that's actually something Lando Norris early on in the year also, McLaren changed, and when he was battling with qualifying, sort of changed that as well. So and then the last lap, try to give it everything, and outbraked myself into turn 2. But I think lap 2 or lap 3 was a pretty decent lap. Where it puts me in the leaderboard, I don't know. Yeah,
that's what we got to see now, where you shaped in this lot now. Okay, we've had Byron Mitchell on here, who's very good and very fast. But he had a temperature, the track was very much colder. The atmosphere was a bit colder when he did his So technically that doesn't really count. We wanted to do the same as everybody, the same temperature, the same, weather conditions on the day. So, our Twig, he set up a lap here, and none of us have been able to get close to his lap. Well, we're getting close. So his lap time was a 1:44.5. And that was the fastest lap put on on the simulator on the same conditions to date. So we have, at the top of the list, we had a guy called Alex Stoos. He builds bikes and choppers. He's raced bikes, quads, all sorts of stuff like that. And he's actually got the slowest time, funny enough. But he had never driven a simulator, but you could see immediately he's got the hang of it. And he did a 1:53.4. And then we had a Game Ranger, Game Guide, Okawonga Delta, Rob Barber, and he actually did a 1:51.9. Never driven a race car, never driven a simulator, but a lot of off-road tricky stuff. So I think a lot of hand-eye coordination there, put it together. Then Claudia, you know Claudia.
I know Claudia well, yes.
Yeah. He, went from, the 151.9. I forgot somebody in between, Mikey K, who was an assault helicopter pilot in Iraq and Afghanistan and all these places. Never driven a simulator or a race car before, and he did a 151.5, a little bit faster than the Game Ranger. But bearing in mind, that's only 5 seconds off the pace.
It must be quite a trip with the Game Ranger.
yeah, he absolutely. I couldn't get him off that thing afterwards. Then Claudia, from a 151.5, he dropped down to a 146.8, which was really great. I had Claudia and Nick Adcock here at the same time, so they both had to do a hot lap. And I'm looking for Nick's time. Where's Nick's time? Nick Adcock's time. I don't see it. Oh, there it is. I need to just open my... So Claudia did a 146.8 and Nick Adcock did a 146.2. And Nick really raved about the simulator. He says the most phenomenal simulator he's ever driven. And he said, I need to do some serious upgrading on his to match that. So 146.2. And then we had Louis, who raced with you guys. What was his surname again? Louis Maurice.
Louis Maurice, yes.
Louis Maurice came up here and he did a 1:45.5. He matched the best time of 1:45.5. And Jonathan Thomas, I've had him on here as well, also did a 1:45.5. So we had Twig, who set the fastest time, and we've had Jonathan Thomas and Louis match that time. I beg your pardon. They did 1:44.5. Twig did they did 1:45.5 each of them. Twig's time was 1:44.5. So they were both a second off the pace. And those were the closest times to the Twig's time. You did a 1:44.1. You've just bust the quickest time, and you've just set the quickest time now on this thing. And that's just phenomenal that you've come out of the blue, but that's what makes you such a special driver. You analyze everything so quickly, and you get quick. I need to churn out 100 laps before I get to that, close to that time, and repetitive. But I think the thing is what you said early on about you got to try new things all the time. And you were telling me something about the brakes. And is that something you want to tell off the air, or you tell me how to?
No, it's
Yeah.
part of my driving style. I think everyone's got a unique driving style.
Because you can you rotated that car in a corner like I've never seen
I
before.
think one of the things that I've done in my career is race front wheel drives, 4-wheel drives, rear wheel drives, and succeeded in all of them. And you'll get a rear wheel drive specialist, a front wheel drive specialist.
Yeah.
So And coming from karting, I think left foot braking has been a really strong point for me. So I've always used my left foot brake, even in a Polo Cup, when you used to use the clutch to change gears. If there was a corner that you didn't downshift, my left foot would automatically go across and push the brake for those sort of corners. And I think all that training over the years, I've sort of developed this technique or habit that if I need the car to rotate more at the end of the braking zone, I sort of dab the brake. And it's something that I've done in sim racing. It's something that was probably worked very well in GTC. When we had the lock diff, obviously with the lock diff, we had a lot of understeer sort of into the corner.
Yeah.
And being able to dab the brake at the end and keep the nose down and make it turn is just another tool that you can use when the car is understeering to make the car turn.
Yeah.
And through the two Lesmos, had a bit of understeer, so I was dabbing the brake, and it seemed to work. So yeah, it doesn't always work, but it's a little tool that I've used in my career to try and help me when the car's maybe not set up perfectly.
Yeah, it's almost like taking a foot off the gas. The weight falls onto the front wheels. You like still using the throttle, but you're dabbing the brakes. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I've always believed you've either got to be on the throttle or on the brake.
Yes.
You know, so that transition, and I've also got quite a big overlap. So when I'm coming off the throttle, I'm already starting to push the brake. And sometimes when I'm coming off the brake, I'm already getting on the throttle, especially in a turbo car.
That's where you guys are fast.
And if you're in that stagnant area, if you're off the brake or not on the throttle, the car becomes dead. It becomes lazy. It's either going to understeer or oversteer. So if you can utilize, the trail braking into the corner, makes a massive difference. Not on every corner. There's some corners where you can't do that.
Yeah.
Coming back to Magny-Court turn 3, it's a fast right-hander. You need as little brake as possible. So you've also got to have that ability to sort of adapt. Okay, this corner I can use that technique, and other corners you can't.
Well, I've just learned something now, which I'm definitely going to go and try on my simulator, and I'll report back to you that improved my time.
But one thing in motorsport, stealing with the eye, it's free.
Uh-huh.
So
I was watching it.
You were also very observant to see that, where a lot of people will watch in real life, they'll have the data, they'll watch on a sim, and they don't pick things like that up. So that's one thing I've also learned. Have a look at what your competitors do. Have a look at their setup on their cars. There's lots you can steal with from the eye, and it's free. So that's also something that you can utilize.
Yeah. A lot of the guys use software called Garage or something. They go and check each other's data. I haven't got into that yet. So when I go and watch a guy who's really on it, I can just watch his replay, but I can't see what he's doing with his petrol and with his pedals.
Yeah, so obviously, one thing with iRacing is you can download Motec, and it's real life. We use Motec on a lot of our race cars.
Oh, really?
And it's the same. So, if you can learn Motec on the simulator, it's the same as learning it in real life. So when we were really serious, online races, we would be downloading data after every session, analyzing sector times, getting other people's data. So it does. I'm not at that stage. If I play online now, it's a Wednesday night with the Masters guys, and we go and have fun, and we have some banter over the radio. Life's a bit busy at the moment to do those Wednesday nights, but I'll get back there one day.
It's our last race of this current season on this Wednesday. I don't even know what car track combination it is. And then we have a 2 or 3 weeks break, and then we got another season.
Maybe I'll make an appearance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just come and show us how to do it. Or I'm sitting going to pick your brain, say, how do I do this? And, that braking thing, I want to go and practice that thing for sure. Okay, well, I think we've learned a lot from you in this short interview, because it's hard. So, I could sit here for hours and we can pick brains in that. But I think, it's just been an absolute pleasure to have a chat to you, get you on there, and having Nick on the program and gone through the sponsorship. Well done for Nick for sponsoring you. That's just phenomenal, and all your other sponsors, of course.
I don't think you should get him on the show again anytime soon, because otherwise he'll tell you what happened at the previous round. I'll rather get it out there before Nick tells the story. But we had a small incident. We did my 2-hour stint at Magny-Cours, 200 plus, no mistakes, no lockups, no nothing, and got into the hire car, and we had I had a flat wheel on the way to the airport. So the pavement jumped out in front of me.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm ever going to live that one down.
Isn't it bizarre?
It's a good story to tell.
You can race like crazy and you get in your normal car. I did that once with the guy. Said, Pete, let's just go down to the shops here quick. I've just bought this new Porsche. You've got this, you driving Porsches all day long and that sort of thing. You drive and go for it. I want to, just experience a little bit what it's like to, drive with the race driver, so to speak. So we go down there to Camps Bay. I just go down the hill, this and that and that. And it says, park in front of this restaurant here. Everybody's sitting on the pavement, down there in one of those Camps Bay restaurants. And I do a parallel park in there and I scrape the rim. In front of everybody. Oh.
Makes me feel a lot better right now.
And he looked at me and he said, yes, sis, you can drive it. You just crushed my rim. You just scratched my rim. And I was, oh, man, how did I do that? I've never scratched the rim in my life. I protect my rim so much, especially on those Porsches that have got no bloody tires. Anyway, that was very embarrassing, but it's a similar story to that. You're on your way to the track.
On the way to the airport.
Oh, to the airport.
So, long story short.
With him in it?
No, so I just dropped it off, and don't worry, you'll be fine. And, he's never going to let me forget that.
Boy. So he's, so to speak, a grandmaster. He's over 60 now. And does that do, so your grading, I know you got this bronze and silver and that. So you're a silver driver, are you?
Yeah, I'm a silver driver. Nick's a bronze driver. But, you mentioned earlier in terms of age and speed. Nick's speed is incredible. To be competing at that level, at the pace that he runs at. But again, it comes back to commitment, dedication, and the want, that competitive edge inside you. He's one of the top bronze drivers in the series.
Should he technically be, or was he a silver driver at any stage?
I think, going back a couple of years, he would have certainly been a silver.
Okay.
But I think with the regulations over 50, you can go to a bronze. But he certainly almost has the pace for a silver. Absolutely on it. And I think also what makes him good is his technical feedback. He's also got that natural feel. And I think it also probably comes, back in the day, we didn't have data telemetry to look at it. All revolved around feel. And I think the classic day on yesterday at the hill climb was the guys got into the old cars. There was no laptop for me to plug in and download. So it all goes on listening, feeling, and I think that's a good character to have when you're in a race car.
Well, fantastic. And so it's we're going to round this off now, and I hope you guys enjoyed that. We've got Jan Lammers coming up as well. We've got all these programs recorded already, and that's going to be action-packed. And yours as well. So I'm hoping to get a few more good guys up here. But I talk to anybody who's got some real epic shit going on. So I've got a girl coming on tomorrow that built an airplane with a bunch of students in school and flew it all up to Cairo. So I want that adventure on record. And we discuss, we dig deep into the adventures. Okay, so it's really been a pleasure. Thanks very much for coming on tonight. And hope to be seeing you on the track soon. Yeah, thank you. And thank you for having me. And we'll run into each other again. And we've got lots more stories to tell. Absolutely. Thank you. Okay. And sorry I was a bit late today. Keep on apologizing. You're actually 4 days late. Yeah, I know. Not 5 minutes. Unfortunately, work comes first sometimes. So, but I appreciate everyone who's here late, putting in the effort. And absolutely. Look forward to seeing the show and all the other shows that you've done as well. Absolute pleasure. Thank you for the time that you put in to interview everyone that's out there. And, sometimes it's difficult. And I think generally the older school
guys, on social media nowadays, the youngsters, it's easy to put something out on social media. Coming from days when there was no social media, to put something on about yourself becomes a little bit more challenging. It's not something that we're used to. So this is certainly a good way for the older generation to get their story out.
Yeah, I'm just doing this as a project. It's not
awesome. Keep it up.
It's not a profession or anything like that. I just decided, I need to tell a few stories and have guys tell a few stories. And
someone needs to interview one day and get your story.
They've already tried. Actually, Mikey K's given me a little bit of an interview, and one or two other people have said exactly the same thing. But so what I try and do is on every program I'll tell a little bit about myself on a little story. I mean, I've told some flying stories, some really funny ones, and so on and so forth, which if you watch the one on the Rob Barber, the Game Ranger, you'll hear some epic shit there.
I'll never listen.
Yeah. Okay.
Awesome.
All right, guys. Good night, and
Good
see
night.
you next time.